stacking leaves today. They just keep coming. Leaves are tricky because we don't bag them and we don't sell very much of it in bulk. There was a company that was taking it. We would grind it, and that's a ground leaf pile over there. Leaf humus is what we call it. And company used to take it. They would grind it or we would grind it, and they would haul it out all winter basically and take it to Scott's to get made into bags of like potting soil and leaf humus blends and things like that. But Scott's doesn't want to take it anymore. Not sure if we ever found out why. I think they're getting it from somebody closer because we're pretty far. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly, but I think they could a truck could only make 2 loads a day down there, a walking floor. So it's far, and that's why we don't haul it there on our own trucks. For one, our trucks are busy with hauling mulch, but it's so far that, you know, why haul 2 loads of leaf humus on our walking floor instead of 4 loads of mulch somewhere else, or leaves. I mean, we do mobile grinding jobs for a few cities, and we need our trucks here to haul brush and leaves in from the cities. So it's just not really in the cards, I don't think, for us to haul leaf out. But yeah, we're not getting rid of very much of it. So we get a boatload of leaves. We get leaves from I think 5 cities, and you know, local landscapers. That's a city truck that's dumping down there right now. Not sure what city. When they drive past, I'll read the door. And they don't stop. They work Saturdays and everything during leaf season. They bring a lot of loads in. Well, you know, once I get to the top of this pile, you can see everything. It's higher than any of our stackers will reach. Plus, it's not really like we can, we have a track long stacker with a feed hopper, and we could load leaves into it with the excavator or loader and stack the leaves with that, and it would be faster, but the pile would not be as big as it is. You know, we need to be higher than that stacker would go, which means we wind up doing this. Plus, we need that stacker for grinding wood. So for November, December, sometimes September, but not really. Leaves aren't really down by then. But yeah, all of November and December, they just hammer it. I don't know how big this pile is, but it's just sort of a pain because during leaf season, one of us has to be either it's me or my dad down here that run the excavators. One of us has to stay stacking leaves, which means one of us isn't grinding. It's usually my dad. He does primary grind. So he can stop more often because I color, and that's kind of but we have to color, which means I have to color, which means I can't stack leaves. But he's not here today, so I gotta stack leaves. And yeah, the trucks that come in, they're usually single axles. We get a few dump trucks that haul leaves in, but usually they're single axles or those trailers, leaf vac trailers. And they're only, they're probably only putting 10 to 15 yards in them. Probably 10, really. Only 10, but when you get, I don't even know how many loads we get, I'll have to ask. But it's a lot. It's a freaking lot. And then the pile gets big enough that you start to not even be able to keep up with a 200 size excavator. Because you got to go so far. You got to move it so far. Like if I only had to move it here to where I am now, it would be very easy. Still be busy, but going all the way to the top, it works out that by the end of the day, there's the pile is like 15 feet out farther that way than it was when you started. Which you can do that in one pull to the top. You can move what they bring in, but you gotta stay late and do it, which is all right, unless you have something else to do. That's the only problem. This is really easy. It's kind of like having a vacation. You're just moving leaves. Yeah, the only issue is if you're doing this, there's something else you're not doing. We get paid to take the leaves, so it's not like we're taking a hit by taking them and doing this. It's just our actual customers that don't just dump things here buy mulch from us, not leaf humus and topsoil, mulch and topsoil. Okay, so for instance, that pile, that got stacked with a long stacker. I think our tracked long stacker. And it shrinks, so don't get me wrong, the piles shrink and settle over time. So it could be 10 feet lower than the stacker goes right now, because it's been there for a while. But I'm well over the top of it, of what an 80-foot long stacker would stack, and I'm only halfway up this pile. See what the name on this truck is. I can see. Euclid. And then, like, Thanksgiving, we were off Thursday and Friday for Thanksgiving during that weekend. And then that Saturday, you know, we were supposed to be off Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for Thanksgiving, and the city of Wycliffe wanted to come in and dump leaves on Saturday, so we had to come in because they have a key to the gate, so they were going to come in and dump whether we wanted them to or not, basically. And we could, you know, we could have let it go and just let them dump the piles out down the road, come in Monday morning and stack them, but that would have been a pain. We do have a D5K cat dozer, and we bolted a sheet of plywood on top of the blade, so it sits right on top of the blade. And my boss put like built like a guard that was like 3 feet high in case we ever needed to push brush or something. Yeah, well, okay, not in case we needed to push brush, in case he needed to push brush or somebody else who was gonna poke a stick through the radiator. And it, you know, that works, and it worked perfectly for setting a sheet of plywood sideways across there. And believe it or not, the leaves do not break the plywood, which is surprising. Because leaves are real light. You can push a boatload of leaves, even with a small dozer, but it's still a small dozer. And going this far, you can still move more with the excavator. You see that a lot on Let's Dig 18's videos when he's moving dirt or something. A lot of times he winds up just pulling the piles back with the excavator, because like for scale, these 200 size excavators are around 50,000 pounds. Like this 210 is actually, I think 60,000 or 59,000 or something. And that's probably pretty much the same as what his is. And I don't know about his, what's he have, a D39? I think that's what it is, a D31 or a D39. And that's about the same size as this Cat D5 we have. And that's around 25,000 pounds, I think. 28,000 pounds. So they're about half the size. Which means they're not going to move as much, as quickly. It's tricky, you know, like what I'm doing right now is very inefficient. Bailing just as far as I can reach and then tracking up there, doing it again. Whereas a dozer, you can go all the way. You can move about probably this much material just in one push all the way to the top. So theoretically it's quicker, but not when your excavator is so much bigger than your dozer. A lot of people probably wonder why he doesn't just use the dozer to push the piles. But that's why. It's quicker with the excavator, just because how much bigger they are. We were pushing the leaf with it when the pile was smaller. But now it's just not quick enough. What might be good, if we had two guys, what might be a good idea would be to take the excavator near the top farther and then have the dozer push to it and have a guy stacking with the excavator up at the top. That would be good, but we usually can't spare two guys to be on leave. The first time I took an excavator up a pile, my dad called me. He said, "Man, you're really getting up in the world, aren't you?" Oh, gotta be a little easier on it. That's it for sinkless stuff. I'm one of those guys who does not mark up counterweights. Even if it's just leaf. And I know it's not even going to leave a scratch. just can't bring myself to do it. My dad just bails the middle out. As you can see, he was the last one up here, and he just digs in the middle and leaves the walls. I think he probably does it so he knows where the edge is, so he doesn't blow the pile out too wide. But not me. It makes me feel claustrophobic. I bring him with me. Take him out. Loader guys down there just pushing away. So they can keep dumping until I get down there. See now, like, this whole time that I'm doing this isn't helping anything for down there where they're dumping. But when I finally make my way back down there, I'll take everything that they dumped in the last 3 hours and move it to the top. Okay, well, I'll come back when I'm at the top. Okay, I'm at the top of the leaf pile. Bucket out of the way. Yep. See everything. Yeah, it's pretty high up here. That's my, I think that's a 60 or 80 foot, I think it's an ST80. I think that's an 80 foot stacker that I use on the red down there. I was in yesterday's video. I'll probably put this up today. And it's up all the way. You know, so an 80 foot stacker doesn't mean it stacks 80 feet high. It just, it's 80 feet long. But yeah, we are clear above the top of it, as high as it goes. Like, down there where my bucket is, might be, that still might be higher than as high as that stacker goes. Yep, that's our wood pile. It's the old stuff. We almost got through that old pile, and then our Comtech went down. And then when it went back up, it went to a mobile job. So we got backed up again with fresh stuff. And that's Chris down there on the loader pushing. That's a concrete place with their little baby piles. That's a little D5 with the, you know, I can't zoom for some reason. But yeah, those are the tops of houses over there, if you can see them. we're not supposed to make the piles like any higher than it is right now down here. But, well, for one we need to. So I'm going to. But the leaf shrinks. Like, it shrinks dramatically. Settles, decomposes, whatever it does, it goes down. So like, if I sit up here at the top and dump this, stack it as high as I can stack it, because I'm at the end of the pile. If I go any farther, we're going to be covering up our wood pile. But since I'm at the end, if I go and stack it as high as I can with this, and a month, maybe a little bit longer, but probably within a month, it will go back down to where it is right now. It'll shrink that far, even if I stack it, 15 feet high on top of this. These leaves are already starting to break down too. See how they're darker colored? They almost look wet. They did not look like that even a week ago. We were having a windstorm down here. Oh, look at that. You want to see some geese? Probably catch one. No, not quite. Yeah, we were having a windstorm like a week or two ago, and when we were stacking leaves, it was just brutal. They have screens over the radiators on these excavators, and usually, it'll take even a couple of days if it's windy and you're doing mulch for the screen to get plugged, if you're turning in the right direction. But it was every 15 minutes. It didn't matter which way you spun. Just the whole radiator covered in leaves in 15 minutes or less. So that sucked. Especially when they're like wet like this and starting to break down. They don't really blow around. But when they're fresh, oh boy. That's another reason we don't use the long stackers. Because at first, when they first start coming in, it would probably be a lot easier to use the stackers. But it would just be a dust bowl. Leaves blowing around everywhere. Only half of them would make it underneath the long stacker. The rest would just be blown all over the place. Like that pile of finished leaf down there. It's got fresh leaf all over it just from when the truck's dumped near it. Those geese were actually really close. I bet you if I wasn't getting vertigo from being up here bouncing around on the top of this pile, and I stuck my boom straight up, I would have been pretty darn close to him. But even real men like me get nervous sometimes. Not very often, but sometimes. Don't tell anybody though. Keeps you alive. That's the trick. Be nervous sometimes. Yeah, it's kind of like that thing. Just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not watching you. Sort of like that. Let's see what that was. Everybody swears up and down that these leaf piles will catch on fire. But as long as I've been around it, never had a leaf pile catch on fire, ever. They get warm though. And when it comes to, I don't know, January next month when we're grinding this pile, it's gonna be, well, hopefully grinding it. I would have liked to be grinding it already, but hopefully next month we're grinding it. It'll be a freaking, there'll be so much steam. I swear that's like a big thing around here. It's always got to be something where you can't see. Whether it gets late in the year and the sun's in your eyes, or it gets cold and the piles are warm and they freaking steam you out. Like if Daredevil needed a job besides being a lawyer, stacking leaves in the wintertime, he'd have a head start already, being blind and all. So I think pretty much by the end of the day today, I'm gonna have this pile as high as we can go. So I'm gonna start, as I go down, I'm gonna start raising that up instead of bringing it all the way to the top. I'm gonna start bringing that whole ramp up. I think that's basically all we can do now. Because it's still, you know, right now we have it set up to where it's still shallow enough that if we wanted to put the dozer on it or something, we could. But now that we're to the end and we have it as high as we can go back here, just gonna basically bring it this level that we're at all the way out to where they're dumping. Probably not this high, you know, because I still have to be able to get down, but hard to tell when you're at the edge. But when your wad starts to fall real fast, basically know you're there. Like right there. I'm just gonna put as many more as I can up there now. Then go back down and start all over. Okay. I think that's it for the leaf video.